cameraman. Very well put together today. Yeah. What were you doing this weekend?
I was just chilling this weekend, bro. The weather was pretty poor here. Wasn't very good for getting outdoors, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I was just chilling.
It's kind of nice. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of the same here to be honest. There's a window like right in front of me and I can see like there's kind of snow, but also looks like it's been raining quite a bit. But yeah, I was kind of asking you yesterday. So am I right in saying that you did cadets? Is that what it was?
Yeah, Army cadets, mate.
So what?
I,
And maybe you
I,
tell me about that.
I
But
actually
what
I
was the
actually
deal
got
with it?
into it for the shooting, and also the Duke of Edinburgh and stuff like that as well. The hikes and stuff like that. So I don't know if you know much about. Did you do Duke of Edinburgh?
I did, yeah.
So obviously you've got to do like volunteering and stuff like that as part of your Duke of Edinburgh as well. So with the cadets, it's like you basically do all that stuff like as part of it anyway. So like a service and that sort of thing. It's all integrated into it. You don't need to like go out volunteering and stuff like that. It's basically uh, it counts towards it if you get me.
Right, okay, cool. So you're saying that like I did the Duke of Edinburgh, but because you did the cadets, it's like you get that as part of it.
Yeah, you basically just need to do like basically like you know how you do like a skill. I think you do like a skill, a service, and like and stuff like that. I think if you're not in the cadets, you need to do like a volunteering thing. But the cadets
Yeah.
counts as that, and then
Oh,
the
okay, I
shooting
get you.
counts towards your skill, and then all you need to do is the hike part of it. You know,
That's class. So how's the shooting?
the shooting was my favorite part of it. As you know, uh,
Yeah.
we done loads of it, mate. We done it was like the 2-2 shooting, which is like small caliber rifles. That was really good. Got to a good level with that. I'd like to do it again, to be honest with you, but just kind of fell out of it when you start working and stuff like that, don't you?
Yeah. And what was that like? Because obviously in the UK, like I didn't even know. I don't think I actually knew that was a thing until you told me about it. Like obviously being able to shoot in the UK is it mad strict? Like I assume you can't like because you've got a
Um,
gun.
I mean, yeah, it's strict to the extent that like you obviously can't be carrying about live ammunition and stuff like that, but it's like it's actually pretty relaxed when you're actually doing it. Um, it's really chill. Like you spend it. There's a lot of time like waiting about and stuff like that as well. Like the actual shooting of it. It's not like kind of clay pigeon style where you're like it's like constantly like you're constantly doing it. If you get me, like it's like you kind of wait about for your turn to shoot, and then like it's
And
it's
you're just are you all just standing there with guns? Or is it like one gun and then they're like, okay, this is your turn, you take the gun. Or is it they're like 20 you just standing there about there with guns?
you're not holding the guns at full time, but
Right.
you do get your gun, and you kind of get to know it a wee bit because it basically you with this sort of competition, you're not allowed to use telescopic sights. It's all like iron sights, so you kind of zero the sight in for you, so you wouldn't really be swapping guns about like that, because you're like you kind of get used to your own setup.
So when you say iron sight, is that where there's like a little pin at the end of the barrel and then there's the kind of like whatever it's
More or
called at
less,
the
yeah.
closest part and you're trying to like line them up?
More or less, yeah, yeah,
That sounds class, man.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
what,
mean it's quite
so
fun.
when, how come why did you stop doing it? Because am
Just
I right in saying you did competitions?
Yeah, so the first competition I won was the News of the World competition. That was like basically the full of the UK. That was the first one, and then qualified to shoot a higher caliber rifle, and we went down to Bisley, which is like pretty much it's probably like the most famous like shooting range, sponsored by NRA, National Rifle Association. That's like the biggest competition in the UK, basically. And that caliber rifle is 7.62, which is the caliber of bullet that they shoot from like the British Army assault rifle. But we weren't shooting assault rifles for that competition. You're shooting a target rifle, but it just uses the same caliber of bullet.
And it's a real bullet, it's not like a little air rifle.
No, it's a real bullet, yeah. So
Is it?
the
Yeah.
2-2 that I was telling you about, the News of the World competition, that is like, although it's a real bullet, but it's a 2-2, so it's 22 mil.
Right, okay.
Um, that's like you're not going to get like a kickback off that. But the British Army rifle and the target rifle shooting, that's much bigger caliber. So I think you're shooting from, I can't remember for the 22 it's like 25 meters or something like that. But the 7.62 caliber you're shooting from like 400 meters, 600 meters and stuff like that.
And but you so that you were saying the caliber, so it's a 22. Do you mean like the diameter of it is 0.22?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that right?
So
So the like 760 is the exact same idea. It's just the diameter is 760 millimeters. Is that right? Is that am I getting that?
I, to be honest with you, I can't really remember how it works if it's millimeters or
Alright.
whatever, but it's significantly bigger anyway, and
Right. Okay.
significantly more kickback. You wouldn't be able to shoot a 22 over the distance that you shoot the target rifles. You shoot the 22 much shorter distance, and it's indoor as well. The 7.62 is much. You shoot it outdoors for a start. There's a lot of kickback from that, and you have to be when you're shooting at that distance as well. You've got to take like windage and elevation into consideration. So the
Yeah.
wind can actually draw the bullet to the side, and the elevation is like obviously the bullet has like an arc to it. So if it's like you need to like if you're shooting from really far away, you kind of need to aim up so the bullet goes like and into the target.
Yeah. And what's the target? Is it just simple targets like it's 100 yards away and you're shooting a bullseye, or is it like deer behind like barrels of oil and shit?
Nah, it's all
Like
targets. So
moving.
it's not they're not moving. They're stationary targets. But the targets that you're shooting on the 22 are like that size, and the bullseye
Right.
is like tiny, tiny. But the target rifle, when you're shooting, the targets are like a meter. But then obviously you still get like grades of like the centers, like the bullseye or whatever, in simple terms.
Yeah. And what's it so with that, like apart from just being a competitive shooter in competition, is there much like is there a could you make a career out of that? No, not really.
Um, I think you could, but I mean, you could certainly go to like the Olympics and stuff like that. But in terms of like a career, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I never pursued it in terms of a career or anything like that. So, I never really got to that level. Um, I mean, when I got to Bisley, I won an award that hadn't been won for something like 50 years or something like that for our battalion. So they were pretty pleased with that. But I think I need to I would like to get back into it because I think that when I was younger, I kind of lost the patience for it a little bit when I was like obviously going into work and stuff like that, and my priorities changed. But as I get older, I think it'd be quite a good thing to get back into.
Are there gun I mean, are there gun ranges in Scotland?
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Is
You can join. You need to join a club basically. You need to join a club, and then if you wanted to have your own gun, you need to apply for licenses. But being a member of these clubs will definitely help you with applying for these licenses.
right, okay, yeah. Yeah, because I obviously just think in Scotland, like I never really heard of anyone being it. You're the only person I know who had any real interaction with guns. I don't know of anyone who's in a club or anything like that. I didn't really know that was the thing. I kind of assumed because the UK banned guns, they were like a strict no no.
No, I mean certainly. I think it is definitely more of a thing if you're not part of like an organisation like the cadets or the MOD and stuff like that. So obviously it's a lot more difficult. Shotguns, obviously, there's a lot more people that have shotguns than have like rifles, for example. I think you would really need to prove that you have the facility to use them when you're applying for the license. And obviously, if you're a member of a club, a shooting club or something like that, where they have a range, then it'd be much easier for to get a license for that sort of thing.
Yeah, and is it shotguns because it's farmers? Is that am I right in assuming
Yeah,
that?
shotguns. 'Cause farmers have got shotguns, but also like clay pigeons quite a big thing in it. So,
Yeah, true.
um, if people, lots of people, there's lots of facilities to do that in the UK. Like I'm sure you can go to. You don't need to have a license to do that. You can go to anybody you can book a clay pigeon shooting thing and go to it. Like I'm sure they have them at You can even go to Glen Eagles and shoot it if you've got zero experience. I don't think they'll
Yeah,
give you a massive shotgun or anything like that, but you can definitely book like a shooting thing, and they'll go out and they'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah, I've
With
definitely seen folks' Instagrams, like fucking Ben
yeah,
and Max Lot and all that. Going, or like Colin Ray or whoever it was.
aye. I think we went for. I think it was Josh's birthday. We went and done it one
Yeah.
time. There's a classic picture of Ryan Cameron with like a trench coat and a kilt
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Suits it though. Suits it well.
Yeah,
Uh, but that's cool, yeah, because I think when you know, I kind of, I mean, we went to the same school, but when we became like close friends, was you're more and you're a skateboarder, so I think it's quite in my mind. I was always curious about that because it was like, how did you go from like, cause to know you as a skateboarder, you to then picture you in like army cadet attire and regiment. I was like, that doesn't
yeah.
seem a match.
Well, I kind of I've never really been I did play rugby and stuff like that at school, but I've never really been into team sports. I prefer something that you could do like kind of more like on your own, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And that's why the shooting kind of aligned with me more, um, and the skateboarding as well. These are things that there's not necessarily rules to it as such. Like you can kind of just um, make it your own, have your own style of shooting. You've got your own style of skateboarding, and it's not really like you don't really need to do it like any particular way. There's obviously like
Yeah.
you can learn obviously skills and stuff like that, but I think in terms of the individuality of it, I think that's what appealed to me more than anything else.
Yeah, I think I also like doing individual stuff because I like just being in my own time. I don't necessarily hate it, but like I guess like team stuff or like even like if you're training with someone, it's kind of like maybe it's just a personality that I have. Is I fucking hate waiting on people. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I like the fact that if I'm doing my own thing, I can just like after this, if I want to go run, I can just go run. Whereas if you're kind of like tied into like a team, you're like right, well, we have to be there at whatever time in the morning.
yeah. That's why I've always liked that sort of thing, like skateboarding, surfing, you know, snowboarding as well. Obviously, they
Yeah.
just
So
appeal to me a lot more.
how did you get into? So how did you? Was the cadets and skateboarding were they like in tandem on one another, or did you like do the like movie style, like you're a straight edge and then you go fucking hardcore into the skateboarding?
uh, well, I don't think that this is the case anymore. But when I joined the Army Cadets, right, that was in like 2009, so we're talking a long time ago.
Mm.
Um, and back then you had to I had long hair at the time. Obviously I've got long
Yeah,
hair again now, but at that time you had to like cut your hair off to like join the cadets basically, because it was like that. I'm gonna guess that it's not like that anymore. I think they do like kind of like appreciate people's individualities and stuff like that now. Like I think in the army, but at the time like it was a big commitment to me because I had to like basically cut my hair off, and I done it. But the reason I'd done it is because I wanted to, like, I really wanted to get into it, that sort of thing. Um, I do think it stood me in good stead. Like I do like I enjoyed the doing the Duke of Edinburgh and stuff like that as well. I think that stuff really does help you in terms of career paths and stuff like that. Um, it's good. It's good on the CV when you're young and you've got no work experience and stuff like that. To have
yeah,
something like that you've committed to, that shows an employer, for example, that you've got you're committed to something that's not necessarily something you might enjoy, but it might be like more of a kind of extracurricular activity that you have to commit to. And that's what these employers are looking for when you're young and you've got no work experience on your CV.
yeah, that's true. And did you think about that at the time? Like, were you thinking that clearly at the time, or is it when you look back on it now, you're like, I kind of realized that?
I think at the time I was like, I kind of always had in my head that I didn't really want to go to university and I wanted to kind of find a career that was more kind of suited to me. So I think it did cross my mind to like potentially join the army at some point. Um, and I think that was the career path that I thought that I was going to go down. The cadets didn't put me off it or anything like that. I just got an apprenticeship while I was in the army cadets. The army cadets might have helped with that. I don't know, but yeah, I got an apprenticeship. Excuse me. So I never ended up joining the army or anything like that, which I'm grateful for now. To be honest with you,
Is it?
Um,
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Is it mad to now look at the life that the life that you live, the life that you've lived, and be like, imagine I joined the army cadets, mate. Because I would be completely like we probably wouldn't be lived together. Well, I mean, we definitely wouldn't live together. Like, your
no,
life would be
definitely not.
completely different.
It would have been. I did think for for a young person that doesn't want to go to university, that is also quite motivated. I think it is probably a good career path to go down. And I guess I probably would have done it if I hadn't got that apprenticeship. But I was a motivated person when I was younger. So I I done work experience um, at BMW at the car garage, and I thought, this is a good career path as well. So when I asked them for a job about apprenticeships and stuff like that, they were like, okay, we can't give you an apprenticeship straight off the bat, but you can come in, you can like wash cars, and when the apprenticeships come around, you'll be stood in better stead to get an apprenticeship, and that's exactly what happened.
Mm.
Um, I took a job, weekend job, after school job, just washing cars for them, and then that moved into the apprenticeship. So when that happened, I kind of fell away from the shooting side of it. Obviously, I wasn't in the army cadets anymore, so I would have had to join some sort of rifle club, and just had different priorities at that point. So that's why that kind of fell away.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're getting into that age of like making money and just wanting hanging out with your mates and wanting to go into town and just spunk all
Yeah,
your
that's
money, really.
right.
Yeah. It's that classic thing that everyone, like, you hear about a lot of people. How many people do we know that someone was like, oh, they were amazing at something, and then, you get to the age of 16 and everyone just starts underage drinking and your priorities just completely go in a different fucking spectrum.
Yeah, that's just Scottish youth culture.
Yeah, no, no. But like you, if I was to like look at you, and know that you're asking me to do this, but I'm going to do it. Like up from the outside looking in, like you're someone who, as a friend, you have like these two, like what seems like they would be. Now, I don't think they are with you, but like they're two like opposing kind of personality traits. Like you have
Hmm.
this super disciplined, structured experience and mindset, but then you also have this completely like free flowing lifestyle. And it's interesting how they seem to coexist within you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
no, I definitely agree with that. I've always been super motivated and up for a challenge. Um, but in realistic terms, it's got to be my way.
yeah,
I've never been the type of person that could really be forced to do anything. If I wanted to do it, then I'd definitely do it. On my own terms,
yeah. I think you and I had very different mindsets when we were younger, and like as I've got older, tried to adopt yours more. I've just been like just been more like free flowing with stuff and not trying to be so like, yeah, but this is the way it's supposed to be done, or this is like everyone else is doing it this way. I've tried to, and sometimes I'm fucking 32 years old now, and I'll be like, what would Sam do in this situation? And typically the situation is always like a super risky, illegal, shouldn't be doing this situation anyway. And I'm like, nah, I'll be fine. Uh, but so do you think that like so obviously you have like a very free style of living. Do you think it's like freedom but freedom with like a structure, if that makes sense?
yeah. I mean, I think I've always wanted to be. I know where I always wanted to go in life, but I was never going to be the person that went to university, like got a job with a salary and stuff like that. I've always been the type of person that's like go out and get it yourself kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that if you want to live like that, you do need to be kind of self motivated. You've got to push yourself, push your boundaries, push yourself out your comfort zone just to make that happen for yourself. It's not going to be given to you on a plate. Maybe if you couldn't motivate yourself, it might be better for you to like have a proper job where you know it's not necessarily going to be like opportunities like thrown at you, but maybe you'd be pushed by a company or something like that to to better yourself. But if you don't have that around you, if you're really if you want to be self-employed, if you want to do things your own way, then you really have to push yourself, don't you? You have to push yourself like out your comfort zone and get yourself out of bed in the morning to, go out and get it. Whereas, if you had a job, then it's just the same thing every day. You don't really need to, in my opinion, I don't know. I've never
The-
actually
and
had like an office job or anything like that, so I can't really talk about that. It's just in my own opinion. I think if you want to be self-employed, you've got to be self-motivated to do that.
And do you feel like like all that stuff you just said there? Like, do you feel like you just knew that intuitively? Because I certainly didn't. Like, I felt like I had to like read a book or do something that like I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like everything that you said. But yeah, did you just have that? You just kind of innately knew that.
Um, I think that I've always been motivated by being like independent. That's really what always drove me to um to build a career and to build a kind of work that suited me. I was always been driven by independence and not relying on anybody else. Um, I, I don't really know what drove that other than you know like maybe like my parents like separating when I was younger, and I was always really motivated to like move out and be independent. I think that drove me, and I was always just looking for ways to be independent and to really push myself, like to build my own life, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
yeah,
I was
so I think that was it probably.
I was going to say that what you say makes total sense, and I feel like that now. But again, I feel like that now at the age of 32. Like I did not feel like that when we were kids living together. And
Mm,
as I think that's it. So I don't think I think having that mentality at such a young age is a pretty unique thing. 'Cause I think a lot of people, and maybe I'm just speaking from my perspective, is you're like, oh, I need to work for like a company that's going to pay me and give me the work to do and the rules and the this to live by. And it's only as I've grown up and had different experiences and moved around and worked for different companies that I now have the same idea as you, where I ultimately would like to be do my own thing and be independent and um yeah, have the freedom to do whatever you want. But yeah, to have that mentality is quite young is I think that's pretty rare. I don't think anyone else I knew was like that.
Um, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's pros and cons to both sort of lifestyles. I don't think that either one is right or wrong. It was just me personally that was just always I don't know, maybe I just had a problem with authority in my life, and
Yeah.
I thought I need to go and get it for myself. But you know, I think even when you're self-employed, one thing to remember is that um, you know, you when you're self-employed, you're still working for somebody. Even if you're the boss of your company, you're working for your clients at the end of the day. You know what I mean? You still have to. It's never going to be just I'm self-employed. Like I can do whatever I want. You know what I mean? You've got to. You are always working for somebody, whether it's your own client or your own boss or whatever. That's something to bear in mind. You're not. It's not a completely free lifestyle unless you're like I don't know a YouTuber or a podcast host.
Yeah, canoe enthusiast. Yeah. No, that's really true. I never thought of that. I guess I've obviously not had that experience, but yeah, you're totally spot on. Whatever you do, you might own your company, but you're s- s- uh, fulfilling a service or a need for someone else, and ultimately, is what they want is what you need to
Yeah,
provide.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. I never thought
yeah.
of that.
You can work your own hours and stuff like that, but you're still working for an end goal or a person that's going to be paying you essentially, whether it's your boss or whether it's your client. Um, you still got to jump through hoops for either of them. So it's just something to bear in mind if you want to go down the path of self-employment. You know, there's pros and cons. You get the freedoms of maybe you've got more time, more holidays, but that you don't obviously get holiday pay. Whereas if you had a job, you would get holiday pay. If you're self-employed, you don't get that. But you've got certain freedoms that make it worthwhile if that's what you want to get out of it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think opportunities are hard to come by. So I think that if really you want to try and get yourself into a position where if something an opportunity does come your way, you're in a position to take it. That's always been something that scared me about having like a full time job. Like I feel like I would feel kind of trapped, kind of restricted within that. Where I felt like I was stuck there. I felt because these companies are like when you start working for a big company, they always tell you kind of, oh, this is the best company in the world. You're lucky to be here. You should be thankful to have this job. Whereas when you're self-employed, you've got to motivate yourself. You've got to get out there, get contracts, get clients, push yourself in that direction, which is difficult as well. So you've got to motivate yourself.
Yeah, you can't be self-employed and be lazy because ultimately it's just going to fail. Like you have to be someone who exactly what you're just saying there. Like, if like you whether you want to or not, it will force you to grow because you can't make no money sitting around doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would assume that you obviously prefer. I mean, stating the obvious here, you were saying there's pros and cons for both, but ultimately you see like the self-employment role is the role that fits your kind of lifestyle better.
It certainly has done for the last period of my life. Like I said, there's pros and cons with both of them. I think that now getting older, I might like to try working for a company if I got the right role. I've recently kind of I've been working as like a self-employed contractor, so I went from having like my own business to then moving into the contract side of it, which I've enjoyed because I've seen different sides, lots of different sides of different businesses, um, which has put me in good stead. I think, and just recently I've actually managed to get a contract as a business consultant. So kind of moving off the tools into the business side of things, which I'm really pleased about. Like I think it's a massive step in my career, something I've
Mm.
never done before. So I'm hoping that's like the next stage for me. Is to go down that road, help businesses from my experience of working in loads of different businesses within my industry, to get a good idea of their like how they operate and how they might be doing something wrong or something they can improve on. Not necessarily wrong. I wouldn't say anything's wrong, but something they can improve on or something they're lacking in. I can identify that for them and help them improve on it.
Yeah, because I think I've kind of had a similar experience where I've worked for like a bunch of different companies now, like big, small, medium, and it is interesting when you go from each of those kind of different structures to see what's good for. Like you're right, like there's like working for a big business. Usually, like there's a lot of like benefits and add-ons. Like stuff kind of gets sometimes if you buy stuff, it sometimes just gets like expensed, whatever.
Hmm.
But then obviously usually the big companies have like they're a lot more rigid in their structure and how things are done. Whereas like a smaller business, like you might have less uh add-ons to the job, but you like the freedom and the flexibility and the what you're actually doing is probably going to be a lot more. So yeah, like kind of going between them all and getting like a ton of experience. Because yeah, and I think that I don't know about like Scotland. Well, I've not been there for a while, but it seems like that seems to be more of a thing now. Like I think when we were growing up, everyone was like, my mum and dad certainly not in a bad way because this is just what people thought was. You leave school, you get a job, and you kind of get a career in that company or whatever. Whereas it doesn't seem to be as such like that anymore. Like me and you have kind of, as you say, you've just gone from tools to consultant to getting into the more business side of things. It seems to be
Yeah.
flexibility and moving around doesn't seem to be as bad of a thing as I think it was when maybe our mums and dads were younger. If you jumped around jobs, it was always like,
Mhm.
fucking hell, this guy can't stick around.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does suit companies a lot better, that kind of structure, because if they're not PAYE on the company's books, they can just have employees when they need them. If they've got a busy period, they can take a contractor on, and when they're quiet, they're not obviously having to pay a full-time wage. So that sort of structure does really benefit companies as well. Um, but again, you're not protected. If you have like sickness or like maternity leave, stuff like that, that stuff like that just doesn't come with that sort of contract role. But the benefit of it is maybe you'd be getting paid slightly more. So, if you wanted to take, like me, for example, if I wanted to take a month off, like when I came to see you in Canada, like I can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be very difficult to do that if you were in a full-time position, um, unless you're obviously were working for a really sound company and they would let you take like all your annual leave plus like some unpaid or whatever. But, I don't know. For me, it was always, I didn't like the idea of having to ask somebody to go on holiday. Do you know what I mean? It was like
Yeah. So
to be able to say, right, okay, I want to save up enough money to be able to go and do that, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. You know,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that probably falls to I would assume that ties back into your independence and individuality. Like, you were talking about you love individuality, like in sports and being able to express it. And then you were saying about like just you were wanting to be independent, and that's kind of why you were out self-employed. I mean, stating the obvious here, but it sounds like that's a massive priority in your life, or like or at least a guiding star to a degree, like having your independence and your freedom.
definitely, yeah. I also don't think that if a lot of like our friends, for example, um, the people that left school and became self-employed, or left school and got a kind of apprenticeship or a trade, and then went self-employed. They're the first people that were able to like get mortgages and buy gaffs. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that I genuinely do think that I don't think I would have been able to buy a house and drive a nice car and stuff like that if I didn't go self-employed. I think this, in my industries specifically, like it would be much harder to do that. I think for people to do that, they really need to be buying with a partner or buying a property with somebody else. To do it on your own is very difficult in this market. So, I'm grateful for that. I think that that's definitely been a big help for in that regard.
Yeah.
Um, aye.
I mean, just say like would you say that you and I again, to keep coming back to it, but I think you and I are different. Whereas, like, because I feel like you're very good at following your intuition and living by how you feel, as opposed to like these are the steps that have been done, or this is the guideline on how to do it. And I mean, like, even like with simple stuff like snowboarding, like you were saying how you came over here and we were on so I don't do, you do jumps and rails and shit like that. Like, I'll tell people that I do them, but really I'm doing like, I'm the little guy that's like rolling over a jump. I'm not actually jumping. Anyway, and I remember one time I was asking you about doing a rail or something like that, and you just turned to me and you're like, just do it, like, feel it, just do it. And I remember like our brains were like just so different in that sense because I was like, yeah, but like where, like what's the step? Like where do you put your knee and your where you're looking and all this? Whereas you were more just like feel it, just do it. And I think you seem to have that more, and like it kind of bleeds into other areas of your life where you seem to be someone who does things by your own intuition and how you feel, as opposed to me, which is I'm like, yeah, but how, like, what's the steps to do that? You just have a lot more confidence, it seems, in just knowing how to do that stuff.
Um, I guess so. I think I guess like I mean I think maybe skateboarding and stuff like that helped with regards to the snowboarding side of it. Like I mean I've done, but I can't do it anymore. Like my too old for it. Don't have the ankles for it anymore. But doing rails and stuff like that. On
Could
a
you not do rails
snowboard,
now?
just not anymore. Not anymore.
No,
Like when I
nah.
was younger, I would
So
on a
how's your
skateboard.
ankles? Yeah, is it just because like the impact and like coming?
Oh,
How's that? How can you not
well,
do it
well,
anymore?
I've broken the same ankle 3 times skateboarding,
Oh,
so
okay, right,
I
fair.
just don't trust. I just don't trust it anymore. Whereas with the snowboards, your ankles are locked in, so I had a lot more confidence doing that. But I guess
Right,
I had
okay.
still had the feeling of that. But I get what you mean. I've always kind of, like I said before, it's always been kind of. this might sound arrogant, but I did always want to do things my own way, and maybe it's not necessarily the right way, but I would get to the same like end goal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um, so no, I get what you mean. I don't know how I can describe that because it's just kind of the way that my brain works, if you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
just I have always just been like that.
You always seem to get there. You and I would get to the same place, but I seem to have endured a lot more stress and anxiety getting there. Whereas you're just like, we'd end up in this exact same spot or doing something. Or to be honest, like I think it would actually stop me at times. Like, there's certain things, like probably like I'm being more sport related here, where like I overthink the uh, yeah, I overthink it as opposed to you, where you're just like, just trust the process, just do it. Which is kind of what you're saying there about like not knowing exactly how to describe it, but just having that trust in the process. Where yeah, I'm like, yeah, but how do I like? I need to know X, Y, and Z before I can like believe that I can do this thing, or I trust that it's the
Mhm.
right direction to go in.
I think that with regards to like even with the sport and stuff in your life, I always look at things in a kind of step by step process. I know that if I break something down into little bits, um, I know that I'll be able to do it regardless of whether it's the correct way to do it or not. Um, like I always think if I've got like a big task to do, I think that see even if you're like if you don't need to break it down into literal step by steps, but I think if you're working on it and you're working towards a goal, and you're doing a tiny so you get a tiny little bit forward, you get like what even 0.1% done, you're still working in the right direction, if you know what I mean. And I think if you
Mm.
persevere with that sort of thing, you know, you will get to the end of it regardless. Um, maybe it'll take you longer. Maybe your ways it'll be quicker to do it that way. But if you're as long as you're working on it, then you will get to the end of it. That's really just facts. You know,
Yeah,
if you're working towards something and you're doing it bit by bit by bit, and you're always getting a small bit forward, then eventually you'll get there. You get to where you want to go.
yeah. I mean, do you have like? Are you someone that do you feel like you need to have a goal to have that sense of direction? Or are you quite easy to like have a future where you're like, yeah, I don't really know where it's going to go. I'm enjoying I'm just enjoying where I'm at. I am just now, and I'll see where it goes.
Well, I think that, to be honest with you, the most fulfilled that I've ever been in my entire life, and I couldn't tell you this at the time. I just because I was working so hard, but it was when I was working towards the goal of buying my house.
Mm,
That was probably the most fulfilled I've ever felt in my whole life. But I was working really hard. I was working like 10, 15 hours, like 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. And then like I was driving maybe an hour and a half each way. So you could be doing like 12, 15 hours a day, you know, um,
mm,
for a full year straight. Um, and that was really, really difficult. But, and at the same time, you know, dealing with lawyers and um, dealing with mortgage brokers and getting your accounts in order just to get the property purchase over the line. That was really, really fulfilling for me. And after it, I thought to myself, right, that's me. I'm going to relax now. Like I've done this massive job, and I'm going to take a step back now and relax. And the longer that I was relaxing, the more kind of discontented I would feel. And I didn't really realize that, that until after that. You know, I think having a big goal, having something to work towards, whether it's like anything in your life, like I know that you do it with like fitness and stuff like that. I
mm.
kind of do it with more kind of business stuff, but that sort of thing really is that's what makes me feel fulfilled in life. That's like when you're working towards something, you know, and you're like I said, if you're just getting that little bit closer every day, that's what really makes you feel fulfilled in life. I don't think that having things makes you feel fulfilled in life. Like it wasn't that when I got the house, I was like wasn't satisfied or anything like that. You know, it was more when I got comfortable in it. It felt great to achieve the goal. You know what I mean? But it was when I sat there for maybe a year or two after that. And don't get me wrong, like I moved into the house and then a year later COVID happened, so that set me back a lot as well in terms of like my next goal or my next thing to do. So I did fall into a kind of trap of being comfortable, and I think that really I think that's the only time that I felt like I've kind of struggled with mental health and stuff like that is like when I just got too comfortable in my life.
Yeah.
I feel like now that I've realised that I've always now kind of got to have something that I'm working towards in terms of career or whatever it is. I've got to have a goal. I've got to have something that I'm working towards.
Yeah, it's that's where you and I are the exact same because that's exactly how I feel. Like, I think you kind of mentioned it there, and it sounds like you know this already, though you and I have never actually discussed it properly. It's like, you've asked me like, why the fuck would you run whatever race I might do this like super long? That is why,
Mm-hmm.
because of this. I had that exact same experience with whether it was the Ironman or the 100 miles or blah 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 blah, that exact same feeling of like you put all that effort in and it's brutal while you're doing it and you're like, this is pish, why am I doing this? And then you get the goal at the end of it, which for you was the house and for me was the race. And then I'm the same, mate. Like I've gone like a couple of years. Sometimes I'll go like a couple of years between things. And by the start of the second year, I'm like, this is fucking pish. Like, it sounds so
Yeah.
silly because but it's, yeah, it's quite cool though how like you obviously had that with the goal of the house and I've had it with the running, and I guess I've never really thought, yeah, that you could get the exact same feeling, but in two different conquests, if you will.
hmm
Uh, and I mean, how like do you have something now? Like, have you got something that you're trying to like push for now, or is that
Well,
is that
I,
stepping into this
I was
business role?
really yeah that stepping into this business role is my new challenge because this is really pushing me out of my comfort zone. Like I did have had staff when I had my garage and stuff like that, but it was a kind of different thing. Like I was like, although there was nobody above me when I had staff with a garage and stuff like that. Whereas now I'm like working for a bigger company. You know, I've got owners of the company above me, then directors, then I've got me, then I've got loads of different people below me, and I was doing interviews on Friday there for an apprentice role, and it was just so different because I was interviewing for a company that wasn't my company. So you know what I mean? So I'm having to interview on behalf of somebody else, which was completely new to me, like alien to me. Um, but it was a good challenge, like with loads of different stuff. Like it's all new to me, but I'm enjoying it. So far, I'm enjoying it. I've only actually been doing it for 1 week now. Um, but I've really been thrown in at the deep end with it, So but that's a good thing. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you are definitely the type of person who will swim in that environment, just because you are someone. I mean, you've already done the self-employed thing. You've already done a bunch of stuff that like a lot of people and have done it for a long time. Like it's not like you just got a house. You've had a house for like what, like 6, 7 years now. You've been
Yeah,
self-employed for longer than that. Like you've done a lot of things. A lot of people our age haven't done or are only doing now, and you did it like a decade ago. So I think, yeah,
yeah,
you obviously are someone who goes in. It sounds like we're kind of similar as well, where like you don't. I said this to my mum like a couple of years ago. I was like, I was having lived in Banff for a while. I was like, kind of want to move. I was like, I just feel comfortable. Like everything's just too. Now, this is make me sound like a dick, and I don't mean it to. But I was like, it's just too like everything's just too easy, and I don't mean that in the sense of like my job is like don't know, easy's not the right word, but it was just too comfortable, I guess. Forget I said easy, like more
yeah,
comfortable where I was like, I know I can do my job, like, I know I can live here, I know I can do this, but I was like, I think I enjoy the process of doing something new, whether that's a job, a sport, a place, something. and like learning and growing in it. It's like the process of growing is almost the enjoyable part of it. And then when you've hit the ceiling of the thing that you're in, whether it's a job or a place or a thing, you're kind of like, oh, sweet, right, I can't really go much higher here. And then it's nice to then sidestep and then go up another set of ladders. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think that like I think it's a good thing to know that you can be independent and comfortable, because I think that, see, if you were to like always work for the same company, and like I said before, they kind of put into your head that like that's like the pinnacle. This is, they're always going to tell you this is the best company you're going to work for. There's nobody else that's better. If you know that you can go out there and be self-employed, for example, or get yourself a job, go to move to Canada, get yourself a job that can give you a comfortable lifestyle. That's a really powerful thing to know, I think, like, because it means that when you do go into an interview, for example, for a big company, you know, you're not going in there being like, oh, please, can you give me a job because I really, really need it. It's a powerful thing to be able to know that you can go out and get it by yourself. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I went in for the interview for this consultancy position, I I was coming from a position where I was making good money, I was independent. They knew that. The person that was interviewing me knew that, and they knew that if they wanted me for the job, which thankfully they did, um, that they were really going to have to I say work hard to get me. Like, they're really going to have to like give me what I want in terms of like money for the job, because they
Yeah.
know that I can go out there and get it somewhere else. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It just puts the ball in your court with that sort of thing. I think it's a really good thing to know that, just to know in your own head that you're capable of doing anything. So they need you more than you need them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I'm just like, again, how did you come by that mentality? Did you just, again, did you just kind of know it? Or did you,
Well, like, I don't know, like, do you know, like I heard this years ago, but somebody actually said it to me recently. Have you ever heard the parable about the fisherman guy? Fisherman guy that's like,
maybe, but remind me if you can
so
remember it.
there's a the story is there's a fisherman, and he's sitting on his land and looking at the sea, and he goes out every day, gets enough fish for his family, he has a comfortable life, and then some big businessman comes along and says to him, "Oh, mate, you've got such good fishing here. You could have like 10 boats out here getting loads of fish, and you can make loads of money." And the fisherman goes, "Well, why would I do that?" And the businessman goes, "Well, you could have loads of money, and then you could you could retire, and then you could sit back here again and just get enough fish for your
Yeah.
family." So what's the point? That's like, you've got to be comfortable, and if you want to push yourself outside your comfort zone, it has to be like for you. Like, if you're in a comfortable position already, which I was with the contract and stuff, you know, for me to like leave that and go into a different position which is going to be like high stress or whatever, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it because I want to, not because somebody told me to, or like I have these like crazy financial goals or anything like that. I know that I can live a comfortable life without it, but I'm doing it for
Yeah.
me at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do remember
Mm.
hearing that fish parable and is talking about how, yeah, it's like, so he's a fisherman and he's got like a super comfortable life as it is. Like, he lives on the beach, he's got his house, he's got his family, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, what you were
Yeah,
saying is like, these people come to him and they're like, oh, yeah, but you can have this. And he's like, yeah, but if I have that, then they're like, oh, yeah, but then you can get bigger and have more companies and more employees. And then he was,
yeah,
and then he takes it to the point where they're like, and then you could retire on the beach and live with your family. And he's like, that's what I'm doing
yeah,
right now. Yeah, yeah. So it's like,
exactly,
what's the point
exactly, yeah.
on chasing the growth of like a business and money if it's ultimately going to just get you to where you already are? And I guess that's, it's like perspective. It's just what people want in life. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's something I definitely struggle with a lot. Is, I mean, I would love to have a shitload of money and do whatever the fuck I want to do, but then I'm also like, I think I also do. I can be quite content being having a fairly simple life, and I think it's we were probably at that age where you're like struggling between like not struggling necessarily, but maybe I'm talking about myself here. I just think I struggle with yeah, want to pursue more, to pursue the
Yeah, I
life.
think it's your career's always you've got to enjoy what you do. You've got to be able to get up every day and enjoy it. Like if you're in a position, I definitely feel if you're in a position where you hate your job, you hate your where you are in your life, you've got to make changes. You've got to push yourself out of your comfort zone because that's like I was saying earlier, that is something that's the only time I've felt most content, like or not most content, most fulfilled. Is when I was working towards a big goal, working towards something, and you're not necessarily in your comfort zone. You know, like I was saying when I was in my comfort zone, when I was just working as a contractor, which was great. I was making good money. I got to just send one invoice a week. I got to just go home and not have to worry about the jobs that are there. Um, I just go home at 5 o'clock and I forget about it
Yeah,
until I go back until I couldn't go back in the next day. Now that's great, but that's not going to make you feel fulfilled. It's going to make you feel content, but I don't think that lasts forever. I think that, well, for me personally, um, I just get bored. I get bored of it.
yeah,
I had to push myself out of my comfort zone again to make myself feel fulfilled in my life, and you know the thing about everything is like you, nothing will stay the same, but nothing has to stay the same either. Like you can go out and do anything and see if it doesn't work, then you don't need to keep doing it. Nobody's forcing you to do anything, so you can
yeah,
you can go out and take a new career path and see if it doesn't work out, then just change it up again. I think obviously
yeah,
it's difficult for people like we're in a position where we're like adults, but we don't have kids or anything like that. So it's a lot easier for us to say that than somebody that's like relying on them financially and stuff like that. Like it's easier for us to say, but I think if you're in that position, then I would definitely say don't be scared to do it. Um, I think that pushing yourself is always going to be good for you. And like I say, if it doesn't work out for you, then just pick yourself up and do something else, and that's that really.
yeah. And speaking of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, surfing in Scotland must be an extremely uncomfortable at times experience.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you?
definitely. I think that I definitely when I was in a comfortable job position, that definitely it made me feel good being able to push myself like that. You got like the cold water, you get like cold water therapy, and you get like the adrenaline buzz at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's brilliant,
So,
and
so
not to
am
mention you
I?
get to see some beautiful parts of the country.
Yeah, am I right in saying that you got into surfing when we went to that surf school in Portugal? Was that your introduction, or had you done it before then?
I think that was the first time I'd done it, or if I had done it before, it was definitely not to that level anyway. But I
Yeah,
really, I really got into it during lockdown, um, when we couldn't travel and stuff like that, um, and I just wanted to go to the beach really, and so I bought two surfboards obviously because I wanted people to come with me. So I bought two surfboards and just started going to all different beaches and researching it, and I think that was really good. Like I think I learned a lot from that as well in terms of like really having to because although that you like the idea of it, but even when you drive to the beach, you still got to kind of psych yourself up for it, get yourself psyched up, ready to get in, and
yeah,
yeah, that's it. But you learn stuff as well, like about reading the weather and stuff like that. Like I didn't know much about that before I started surfing, and I think that like you do there's loads of things you learn from certain things that you might not necessarily expect to learn from them.
So with regards to like surfing in Scotland, do like Scotland obviously has like a really good surf. Am I right in saying it's got like a really good it has really good surfing.
Yeah, brilliant. More so in the winter, unfortunately. But yeah, it does. It's got world class surfing. Pretty sure on Thursday they do like worldwide competitions. People come from all over the world to compete at Thursday. Um, Thursday's obviously a bit of a mission from us, or for me in Glasgow. But you know, I'm only an hour and a half away from the East Coast, where there's good surfing, or maybe two and a half hours away from a surfable beach on the West Coast. Um, you know, but I love camping and stuff like that as well. It's good. I just love being outdoors. You know, it does. It brings you to places you might not necessarily go. Um, like where was I again? Um, one of my favourite beaches to surf on is down towards Campbelltown on the west coast.
Yeah.
Which, if you look at it on a map from Glasgow, like as the crow flies, it's actually not that far away. But you've got to go up, right up, past Loch Lomond, around Loch Fyne and back down on yourself to get there. So it can take like 2.5, 3 hours to get there. But the water quality, compared to the East Coast, which is like a more industrial coast, is just night and day. It's like turquoise waters, white sand, beautiful, beautiful. Like there's like seals and dolphins and stuff like that. Like it's absolutely incredible, amazing.
Yeah.
And also the sunsets on the west coast, obviously. So you get absolutely beautiful sunsets, amazing camping and stuff like that. On the east coast, you're not really allowed to camp, although there's like a like what do you call it again? Right to roam in Scotland.
Yeah.
You're technically allowed to camp anywhere you want, but they're funny about it on the east coast, just because they don't like fires and you're not supposed to park places overnight and stuff like that. But on the west coast, you never get bothered by any of that stuff. It's just totally total freedom, outdoor freedom.
Yeah. And is there like a big community of people surfing in Scotland? Because again, that's something I don't feel like I really knew about growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of you end up bumping into the same people, because if we get a specific swell that's going to be really good for surfing, everybody's looking at the same charts, so you end up going to the beach and bumping into people that you met at another beach maybe a few weeks before or something like that. And I've met people. I'm in a WhatsApp group as well called Glasgow Surfers, and
Yeah.
people all like kind of car share and stuff like that, because obviously it can it's quite a bit of driving involved, obviously going from Glasgow. So these people all car share and stuff like that, and there's a really good community around it.
So you were talking about how like you obviously get that cold water exposure. Did you find like there's obviously a big conversation about that and like mental health? Do you find that kind of forcing yourself to do that helps chill your mind out, pardon the pun, quite a bit?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think it's really good for you into the cold water stuff. I think that I don't know this for fact, but I do believe that you kind of your body absorbs some minerals and stuff like that being in the sea as well.
Yeah,
That's got
salt and
that's got
stuff.
that's got to be good for you.
Yeah,
I
because I
don't know
remember.
much about it to say it for a fact, but I would definitely say I feel like you get benefits from it for sure.
Yeah, because I remember when when I was training for that Ironman and me and my dad, I was staying at home at the time and he was coming open water swimming with me in a quarry and fucking God knows where, but it was freezing me. And I hated it, and I just hated the whole thing. But because I had the Ironman, I was like, just had the discipline to do it. Anyway, fast forward, done the Ironman. But me and my dad, obviously, we were going every Saturday, so it was kind of routine, you know. And then the first Saturday came up after the race, and I was like, "Do you want to go and do it?" And he was like, "Yeah." Mate, I swam in that water for, I'm not joking, I was maybe in it for like maybe 5 minutes. And I was like, I was so cold and I was like, this is so piss. So I got out and I was sitting at the side and I was watching my dad like swim up and down and round and all that stuff. And he was in it for like a good 30, 45 minutes. And I remember at the time being like, why the fuck are you in the water? Because I'd never questioned that when I was pre-race, because had the I had the race and the goal and the this of doing it. But once that was taken away from me, I was like, I had no desire to be in the cold water. And anyway, so I asked my dad, I was like, why are you here? Like, you've got no like, it's torture. Like, what's the point? And he was just like, I think this is during COVID. And life is super stressful. He owns a business and whatnot. And he's like, because I'm literally thinking about nothing else apart from how cold it is. And I think
Yeah,
I don't want to speak for him, but I think my understanding was that it was like one of the few places that he could completely zone out to all the pressure and stress of what was going on in greater life. You know, he could just, in that moment, he was just thinking about the cold, ironically, and
yeah,
that
yeah.
was keeping him
That's a really
calm.
it's a really good point. I do think that about surfing as well. Like maybe I've never just done cold water swimming on its own, but certainly with surfing when you've got big massive waves coming at you like every periodically. I think in Scotland it's the period of the waves is like 15 seconds or something like that. So if you've got a big wave coming
Oh,
at you
is
every
it?
15 seconds, you don't have much time to think about anything else, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a good way, definitely a good way to clear your head. Um, so I definitely agree with that. Definitely.
Is
Um,
there like I was going to say, is there like a continuity between like the uh, skateboarding, surfing, and snowboarding? Like, you know, I think someone, me, would probably look at them and be like, oh, they must all share some form of technique or style or yeah, they all kind of seem similar. Like, having done them all, do you think they are all similar, or are they kind of totally different?
um, I would say that they definitely having that kind of core strength and core balance is definitely beneficial for all of them. But they are all very different. I would say that obviously with skateboarding, first of all, you're not attached to the board. Um, in snowboarding, you are. Um, so that's obviously a massive difference. And with regards to surfing, I would say that surfing is probably like 90% paddling, like 90% actually like putting one arm in front of the other. So, that's something that doesn't come with snowboarding, or it's a different kind of fitness that you need for that as compared to, you know, skateboarding or snowboarding. So they are all different. I would say maybe you'd use the same muscle groups, but I'd say it's in terms of doing the actual snowboarding, surfing, skateboarding. I'd say it's all very different.
Yeah, because I guess surfing is obviously like water and waves. You know, so snowboarding is like snow and you're going downhill. So yeah, as much as they might share a similar uh, style, I guess, like they obviously are all
Mm.
completely different now that I fucking that do. But so have you been surf? Have you still been? And can you surf all year round in Scotland? Like, do you just have to beef up your wetsuit?
Um, you can. Usually up the north coast, there's always waves. In the summer, the east coast is pretty flat, so you're limited. On the west coast, you do get some waves, but realistically, it's like more in the summer. If it say if there's like a hurricane, like on like the east coast of uh, America, we will actually get waves on the west coast of Scotland off the back of that storm. Um, so if you're looking out at the weather reports and stuff like that, and you're looking for waves to surf on the west coast, if there's a storm in America, then you'll get waves off the back of that, which I
Right.
found
Okay.
that really interesting because it's like it is actually one. These waves are generated out in the ocean, and it is actually one single wave that basically rolls all the way across the Atlantic, all the way to the west coast of Scotland, which I find really
Oh,
interesting.
really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's mad. Yeah, I remember when you and I did that surf school. I came away from it with a extreme healthy appreciation and fear of the sea.
Oh
Like
yeah, for
of how
sure.
yeah, like even like tiny waves, like if you're tiny waves, but they're if they start at your neck, and it doesn't even if a wave's like a foot high, that's probably like higher than your head. Is fucking
Yeah, yeah.
terrifying.
When you're lying down on your front looking up at a 6 foot wave, it looks really intimidating.
Yeah. Have you had any moments where you've kind of got tossed under and you're like, holy fuck, this is
Yeah, I mean,
terrifying?
I've definitely been out in conditions that are well above my pay grade, like where I've like paddled out and gave myself a bit of a fright. But
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really been in a situation where I was like I don't feel like I was really putting myself in danger. That may be naive to say that, but um, I really, although I was scared, like I wanted to scare myself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wasn't like being stupid about it,
When you put
and
yourself in those situations, did you paddle back out, or were you like, cool, I got the fright, I'm good?
yeah, that basically, I gave myself a fright and then went back
Yeah.
in for a coffee or something. Um, but I do find it funny though because like I've been doing a bit of canoeing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
More so this during the summer. Um, I found it really funny that like I would be out in the canoe and it'd be like glassy conditions. There'd be like not a single ripple in the water, and people would come up to you and go, you should have a life jacket on. And I'm thinking to myself, I go out surfing in fucking 10-foot swell with no life jacket on, and these
Yeah.
people are telling me that I should have a life jacket on a summer's day. Like,
It-
fair enough in the winter, like where you could get cold water shock or whatever. But I'll be parking that canoe up and going for like a 20, 30 minute swim in the water that they're telling me that could kill me.
yeah.
It's nonsense.
How did you get into
Um,
canoeing then?
Um, I'd been looking at buying one for so long, and I ended up getting pulling the trigger on it I bought it for myself for my birthday in May, and again, it's one of those things that like I love the outdoors aspect of it. Like for in terms of surfing, I loved going and exploring new beaches and stuff like that, and this was more about exploring lochs and stuff like that and getting to fish in different places and camp in remote places that you couldn't necessarily get to like on foot, and that was the motivation behind it.
Yeah. And like all those things that you've kind of done, like skateboarding, surfing, canoeing, they all have, as you were saying, like an individual style to it and like a creative aspect to them. You were obviously, I
Hmm.
know you were chatting about as well about like kind of doing like jewelry as well. Is that like what, a little bit of a just a hobby? I think you were saying at that point. Like it
Yeah.
sounds like you value something that has the it allows you to be creative.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I think I don't see myself as artistic, but I definitely think value individuality and self-expression. I think that's something about me. Like like I don't necessarily wear clothes that everybody would wear, like that sort of thing. Like I value individuality in that respect, but I don't really see myself as like super artistic or creative, really. But I guess I am, I suppose.
Yeah, I think probably in our friendship group, certainly one of the more creative types. And Cass actually wanted me to ask you this if there was any story behind the furry hat, the brown furry hat that you always wear.
The brown furry hat.
Yes.
I do love a crazy hat. To be honest, with you. The story behind the hat. What was it again? What were we buying hats for? I was buying a hat for uh it wasn't really a fancy dress party, but it was like the theme of the party I was going to was fur coat and nae knickers, right? Um,
Okay.
and I was in the Barras looking for a fur coat, and I saw the hat and I just had to buy it. I don't know,
Yeah.
it was calling to me. And
Yeah.
for some reason, like ended up living in the bag that I bring canoeing that like has like my gear for canoeing, fishing, and all that in it. So it just had ended up being my my canoeing hat, uh,
Yeah.
and I ended up wearing it at that music festival. It was that just for a laugh. Uh, so I don't know. It's just kind of been the hat of the summer, really, or yeah, pretty much the hat of the summer.
Yeah, I remember when you and I were living together, we were at a Halloween party and we went shopping. We went like Halloween shopping in like a vintage store, and I found like
Mm.
a Levi's jacket that I just wanted to buy. The Levi's, I was going in there for Halloween costume, saw this Levi's jacket, so then I bought the Levi's jacket just because I wanted it, and I fashioned like the shittest Halloween aviator like style costume out of it. And it wasn't because it wasn't a costume in any way. I just wanted this jacket and I was just like, I'm going to make this work. But yeah, Cass just want me to uh, want me to ask about the hat. But so with the canoeing, do you? I mean, obviously you've got you've got a YouTube channel for that. What is the name of that? Is it just Sam Fallow?
It's just Sam Fallow at the moment. I need to be a bit more creative with that, but that's like generally all my handles for all my social media is just Sam Fallow, for
Yeah.
Instagram and stuff like that, and my email and stuff. So I just I need to come up with something different for it. But no, I know I should get on to doing that. My brother he does like graphic design stuff like that, so I'm getting him to help me with a logo and stuff like that for that. So I think that
Nice.
once he helps me with that sort of thing, then uh, I'll I'll maybe change it up a wee bit. But I don't know. At the moment, it's just Sam Fallow. Yeah.
Yeah. And what? So with the canoeing, like, what kind of pushed you to think about like doing a channel for it?
Loads and loads of people said to me that I should be filming because they watch like my Instagram stories and stuff that I'm posting about all my camping trips and stuff like that. And I thought, like I would actually quite like to document this, um, because it's all very good, like having amazing memories and stuff like that. But it is nice to sit and like watch back at on your videos and see like what the stuff that you've done. And I did enjoy it. And then once I got the camera, um, I was like, there's so many things that I wish I had it for previously, like when I was out with Alex and on the canoe, in Loch Fyne at night, and there was all the bioluminescent algae in the
Yeah.
water, um, which was absolutely incredible. Like I really wish that we'd got that in video. Like it was just absolutely incredible. It was like something like from the Avatar movie. Um, and then another time we were out fishing on the canoe, and a pod of dolphins were came right up to the boat, um, which was amazing. And we've only got like kind of rough footage of it on the phone. I wish we had the camera for that as well. We could have
Yeah.
put the camera underwater, and because they were swimming right by the boat, do you know what I mean? So it would have been made some amazing footage. So next year I'll have it from the start of the summer, and I'll be able to get some really good footage. I do plan to do some winter trips as well, um, but again, you're really limited in Scotland, like because the main thing about the canoe is that you could go out in the rain, but the slightest bit of wind and it makes it really really difficult to do it. So, and obviously Scotland is not the best for weather. So
Yeah, I mean, unless you have a tattoo in my hand that says Windy Ridge, because that's the name of my mum and dad's house.
exactly. So
So yeah, yeah, I think the canoeing as well. Like you can, it's probably similar to swimming, where like if there's any kind of waves in the water, like you could just be paddling endlessly in the
yeah,
same little
yeah.
spot.
I had my first like kind of solo canoeing experience. I went to Loch Lomond, and the weather was totally fine. Um, and I decided to paddle around one of the islands and come back again. And the full thing would maybe take about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I canoed round from kind of from Luss round the back of the Wallaby Island. I can't remember the name of it. Inchmurn or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah,
paddled round the back of the island, and by the time I got round to the back of it, the weather like really changed, and the wind started picking up really badly. And I came round the other side of the island to like face back towards where I had to go back to get back to the car, and there was just a like incredible force of wind constantly blowing into my face, and I just had to keep paddling forwards. But like I could see when I took it, like when you look at to my right when I was looking at the island, I was paddling full force, like as hard as I could, but I was like literally not moving in
yeah,
terms of like where I was in relation to the island. But if I'd stopped paddling, it would have literally blown me like right to the other side of the loch, and I would have been stranded. So I was like paddling, just trying to stay in the same position for maybe 15, 20 minutes until I got a break in the wind and I was able to get away again. Um,
yeah.
so after that, I'm really conscious of making sure the conditions are right for it, or at least if I'm out, if I had somebody else in the canoe because it's a big canoe, uh, like it's a three-seater, but I've had four people in it before, totally fine. If you've got more people paddling, obviously you get a wee bit more
Mm.
power into it, and more people in the canoe as well weighs it down a bit more. It wouldn't be so affected by the wind, because it's an open top canoe as well. Like the wind kind of gets inside it and really drags you. So in terms of, especially with solo paddling, I'll be more conscious in the future about weather conditions.
Yeah, when you're checking the weather conditions, is it, I mean, like, are there specific apps or websites that you're checking, or is it as simple as you're just going on like Googling the weather?
You can there is apps and stuff like that. There's an app that's actually called Windy. Um,
Okay.
that's more kind of specific to the wind conditions. But even like Met Office and stuff like that is good for it. Um, and I even actually use some of the surfing apps, even if I'm not in the sea, because a
Yeah.
lot of them are really kind of more detailed, more specific. Um, but I think there's paid apps that kind of give you all that information, like condensed into one app. But there's certainly free ways to do it if you just go about different apps and kind of gather information for yourself and kind of build up your own. That's what I'm saying. Even I think with the surfing I was saying before, that taught me about reading weather conditions, stuff like that. Um, that's obviously applicable to the canoe as well. So that's helped me.
Yeah. And when it comes to like the like building a channel from it, I feel like I might know the answer to this question already just based on what you were saying before. But is there like like, are you, how much of it are you like watching and seeing what other people are doing and being like, Ricky, that's sweet, I would like to do that, and then doing it just like completely your own way?
I'm still very much a newbie at the whole video editing side of it, so I'm just trying to get as much footage as possible, and I'm still filming stuff and then going back and watching it and realizing it's not usable footage, and
Yeah.
then my editing skills are still very, very amateur as well. So, but I watch, that is what I watch. Like if I'm alone, like after work and I've made my dinner and I sit down in front of the TV or whatever, like that's the kind of thing that I watch on YouTube. Um, I would sit and watch outdoors channels, so I've got a good idea of like what's good and what's bad, but obviously trying to recreate that for yourself is a completely different story, and it's that is a skill in itself that people spend years getting good at. So it's that's certainly not something that's came naturally to me. Um, but I do enjoy it. Again, like any kind of challenge, like I do enjoy the the process of it, but it's time consuming. It's time consuming, as you know, in your
Yeah.
own channel. It's time consuming doing the editing part of it. Um, and it's a kind of, you know, by the time you've got your finished edited video, you've probably watched it about 100 times yourself. So you're like,
Oh my God,
is this
yeah.
is this is this even good anymore? Like you're like, doubting yourself, and so I think that's a skill that I guess just comes with time and practice, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I usually before I upload a podcast, I'll listen to it like 4 or 5 times, like through, because you're like, I'll do like a basic edit, listen to it all the way through to make sure there's no like mad, like weird audio things in it, and then I might hear something or like may need like tweak an audio bit to it, and then and then listen to the full thing again because you process the full thing. Yeah, by the end of it,
Yeah.
you're right. I can sometimes listen to a podcast, and by the time I'll listen to it first time, I'm like, yeah, that's good, and by the fourth time, I'm like, I don't even know if this is fucking making sense anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's going crazy. And I think as well when I listen to podcasts, and I assume you might be, or I guess this is a question: do you find when you're now watching the videos that you would watch after work? When you watch them now, do you watch them slightly differently in the sense of now when you're watching it, you're like, oh, he actually does. I like how he cuts from this to that, or like he speaks a certain way, or gives information in a certain way. Because I do that with podcasts now, where as much as I enjoy them, I'm also being like,
Mm.
I quite like how he won't do this thing that I seem to have a habit of doing.
Mhm. No, definitely. You kind of once you start doing it for yourself, you do kind of watch them in a different way. Um, but I don't think it's not ruined it for me. Like I can still sit and watch and enjoy somebody's content without thinking, oh, I really want to do that or whatever. But I do. It does kind of make you watch it in a different way after you've tried to do it yourself and realize
Yeah.
that it's realize how actually difficult it is to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like before I started doing this, I thought this kind of stuff was honestly like plug and play. Like I thought you buy a microphone, you buy a camera, you record it. I obviously understood that there was some editing to it, but I didn't. There's like little things you don't realize. Like if someone like me going to the toilet earlier, like having to like clip that out in such a way that it's not so obvious that like we're talking about one thing and then like it's it snaps to something totally different. So yeah, it's interesting once you get into it. And you're right, like even though this is ultimately just a hobby right now, like I think about this 24/7. I'm constantly, like when you and I were coming up today, I was like spent the last couple of days constantly thinking about like what to talk about and stuff like that. And it's the same, like I got, another one next week. And as soon as this one with you be finished, I'll immediately be like, okay, like so if I like they're into this and like what would I chat to them about? Like it's just this constant, which I kind of like, to be honest, because I think I'm the same as you, where like I like to be busy. So having
Yeah,
something that I'm kind of, to be honest, I'm kind of obsessing over, get fills the time in which I would otherwise probably be kind of bored. Especially
yeah,
at this time of year where the weather's kind of in between. You're like, I can't really go outside, but I also don't want to just sit inside and fucking scroll my life to death. It's
yeah.
nice to have something that you're kind of feel like you're proactively obsessing about something that is fun or like you actually care about.
Yeah, I think that certainly for next year, I think I'm going to care less about like making a video and then editing it. I might actually just film loads and loads of content and then in the kind of winter months when I can't do as much, then I'll maybe sit down and start making videos and uploading them if you get me.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that that might be a better way to do it where I don't feel as much pressure and I can then I can really enjoy just the filming of it and then sit down and enjoy the editing of it as well separately because I think that I felt like the real pressure to once I had the video filmed I felt like I was giving myself a lot of pressure to get it edited and get it uploaded where I don't think it has to be like that like I can take a more relaxed approach to it and have the content there ready to go for whenever I do get a minute. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, but like I say, with this new job, like it's taking up a lot of my time during the week, and then at the weekends I do just kind of want to relax. So it is really just I'm not making enough time for it that I probably should, but I think if I do it in that sort of way, then it will make it take the pressure off it a little bit.
Yeah. But look, man, I'm excited to see more of these videos. I know we watched the first one at your house. But yeah, I have been periodically checking it, and I'm like, I was going to text you the other day, being like, "Fucking upload more videos," but I knew I was going to chat to you anyway, so I didn't bother. But yeah, mate, I'm super excited. Like, I think it's really cool. You've always kind of been someone that I've looked at who does pretty cool shit, to be honest, and I can always, yeah, I appreciate having someone in my life who. My mom said this actually when you were coming out here. I don't know if I ever told you this, but when you were coming out here to visit me a couple of years ago for a month. Like, you know what I'm like as we live together. I'm such a creature of habit. I'm so regimented in my and how I live day to day. And I think, and this isn't any comment on you, but I remember saying to my mom, I was like, oh, like Sam's coming for a month, and I was like, I know he's gonna want to do like a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, blah, blah. And my mom was the one that said to me, she was like, Richard, I think it's good that you have someone like Sam in your life who actually forces you to snap out of your such a regimented life. And while I still enjoy like the structure of that, I definitely have in the years that have passed recently become a little bit more comfortable with just like going with stuff. So anyway, I'm blabbering here, but I guess what I was saying was it was cool to have someone like you who forces me to snap my own fucking
No. Well,
perspective in life
mate, I
sometimes.
do wish you were here so that we could go out in the canoe and stuff like that,
No, I know.
and go surfing and stuff like that, mate. I think that there's a lot here for you if you do ever decide to come home.
Yeah. No, I know. I
That we
know.
could go out and do.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate you sitting down because I know it's morning for me, but it's kind of kind of evening for you. So, look, I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me for so long.
No, thanks for having me.